The foundations of what would grow to be a great pagoda had now been complete, the interior being hastily turned into a large banquet hall for the local envoys and the governors of the new colony to feast and debate what the path forward would be. A great table made of a deep red wood was covered in a spread of foods from local game to rice and dumplings that were a staple of Fengdaonian cuisine. A select few local dishes had also been prepared, including Cinelli-style white sauce, being served exclusively at the human half of the table, with many of the moles finding it repulsive. Other bits of local food, where cooked up, once again moved to the far side of the room. Away from there, Pt.2, the colony's governor, would sit atop a throne brought all the way from Changxi. The throne, along with a crown given to him by the Changdi, where what gave him his power, with long communication times back home, it made sense to have a local leader with the authority of the Changdi. The first emissaries would begin to arrive at around midday, the representative from Zarni, along with their guard, arriving in a ship that nearly went unnoticed as it navigated the gigantic ships in the bay. They were received by a small detachment of soldiers led by one of the many bureaucrats that helped the foreigners on their way to the hall, as the guards were ordered to stay at the ship. When arriving at the banquet hall, the humans were gifted a small jade amulet depicting the great spirit Suma. Over the next few hours, the rest of the men would arrive, each being given an amulet and taking their seat at the table, separated from the molemen. The room would be uncomfortably quiet, as only a few of the moles could understand the local language, and none of the locals knew the molemen's language. Pt.2 was one of the moles that had taken the time to learn the local tongue, seeing it as a useful ability to have as he navigated the room, making small talk to the lords, asking what their cities were like, if they knew of the great spirits, and so on. The feast-begun music would start, zithers and lutes playing soothing tones that floating across the halls, mixing with the cacking of the fire and quiet talking between the moles, as the local humans tried the strange and unique foods laid out in front of them. Before the second round of food was brought out, Pt.2 rose a glass, commanding the room be quiet before he started to talk, addressing the humans in the room. As I am sure you are aware, we are not of this land, but we are from a world completely unknown to you, the Great Harmony Isle, fought for and built into the greatest empire the world has ever seen by our predecessors. My men have sailed east, across the Great Sea, to what they did in a new land, this land. The empire of Fengdao has been given a holy mission by the spirits to civilize those who submit to use and conquer those who don't. The room fell quiet, the moles not understanding what was being said, and the humans worried to see whereabouts the mole was heading with his words. I will now ask you, as lords or as those who claim to work in their name, whether or not you are going to submit to the rule of Changdi Bao Qin. The humans in the room began to share worried looks between them, chattering in shock and surprise that these animals from the underworld would have the gall to demand that they, the strongest lords on the region, submit to them. One of the lords would then reply, "Who gave you, mere animals, vermin even, the right to demand that we submit? You have no gods, you have no land here, you don't have any large army to speak of. Give me one reason why I shouldn't skin all of you who stand here and return home as one the richest men in the world." Pt.2 stood up now, signaling to the men stationed at the entrances, with the large doors soon slamming shut with the loud echo of latches being closed and barriers lowered being heard across the room. "Give me one reason why I shouldn't do the same to you," the governor replied, cold and calculating. "Because we are lords and you are not." Pt.2 strode across the room, his orange and yellow robes trailing behind him as he did. The eyes of the humans in the rooms followed him. "What you fail to understand is that I, in fact, do have a large army, maybe the largest you have ever seen. 10,000 of my men are trained in combat, another 5,000 give them the power to siege down even your strongest fortresses in only a handful of days." The mole continued walking, over towards the large fireplace that was crying out for more fuel. Pt.2 obliged, tossing a large log into the flames and walking it split and crack as the fires devoured it. "You see how this fire so effortlessly broke down the log? Maybe the strongest material you humans have growing here? That is what we will do should you not bow down." The lords were quiet, until one spoke up. "I think we all wish to leave now." The mole stayed staring at the fire, unanswering for a few minutes before the Lord called out again, more firmly this time, "We are leaving now, so open the doors." Pitang spun around and waved the guards, who then opened the doors, letting a cool nightly breeze blow in. The humans would make a quick exit, not wishing to stay for any longer, leaving the moles left to feast and plot their next move.